with your host, RenTen ASMR. In today's video, I'm going to be doing a Week 6 NFL recap video, and I'm going to change it up a little bit. I've kind of done a blend of my thoughts on the game and what happened in the game, and I think I'm going to separate it into two parts. Now what I'll do is every game that I review, I'm first going to go over the drives of the game, what resulted in each drive, so a little bit of a game recap, and then I might show you the stats, maybe read out the top stat lines from each team, like passing, throwing, rushing, things like that, and then I will get into my thoughts on it, so you get a more well-balanced, all-around recap of what happened in each game, as well as my thoughts. I feel like sometimes it's been more heavy on me just saying stuff, and sometimes it's been more heavy on me recounting facts and figures, but I want to make sure I get both in, so I'm going to try and utilize this template or style and see how it goes. So, first up, we have the Chiefs and the Broncos facing off on Thursday night, and in this game, the Chiefs got the better of the Broncos, winning 19-8. Looking at the scoring summary of this game, you have the Chiefs starting off with a 35-yard field goal in the first quarter. Then, in the second quarter, the Chiefs, they scored a touchdown, a 3-yard pass from Patrick Mahomes to Kadarius Toney. So they go up 10-0, and to finish the half, they score another field goal, a 60-yarder. So the Chiefs are up 13-0 at halftime. After that, the Chiefs score yet another field goal in the third, a 25-yarder, to go up 16-0. Then the Broncos get their first touchdown of the game with 6 minutes remaining. We've got an 11-yard pass from Russell Wilson to Courtland Sutton, and Javonte Williams scoring a 2-pointer conversion on a rushing play. So now the score is 16-8. And then finally the Chiefs win it. They put the game away with a 52-yard field goal with 1 minute and 55 seconds remaining in the game to win 19-8. So in this game, you have the Chiefs having 389 total. Oh, actually, let me just read out the top things. So passing yards on the Broncos, you have Russell Wilson throwing for 95 yards, 1 touchdown, and 2 interceptions. That's not good. And then Patrick Mahomes on the other side of the ball threw for 306 yards, 1 touchdown, and 1 interception. Not the best for Mahomes, but still much better than what Wilson put up. Then rushing the ball, you have Javonte Williams, 10 carries for 52 yards, and Isaiah Pacheco, 16 carries for 62 yards. And lastly, receiving, you have Courtland Sutton catching 4 balls for 46 yards and 1 touchdown. And you have Travis Kelce catching 9 passes for 124 yards. So, in this game, obviously the Broncos only scored 1 time, but they did have 4 sacks allowed and 3 turnovers to the 2 sacks allowed of the Chiefs and 1 turnover. So, time of possession, turnover battle, sack battle, these are all things that the Chiefs had advantage in. The only thing that the Broncos did better in this game was rushing the ball, but when you're down, rushing the ball doesn't necessarily help as much. 95 yards passing is not going to cut it, so Russell Wilson needs to be a more effective thrower in order for them to win more games. He's been pretty good in this season, but he really had a bust game, and so the Chiefs keep up their streak of 15 or 16 straight victories over the Broncos. After that, you have got another London game. You've got the Ravens and the Titans. The Ravens winning this game 24-16. The scoring recap is going to be quite funny on this one. So, first quarter, you've got a 41-yard field goal from Justin Tucker, then a 26-yard field goal from Nick Folk, and then a 28-yard field goal from Justin Tucker. So, at the end of the first, Baltimore leads 6-3. After that, you've got a field goal from Justin Tucker, 23-yarder, then a touchdown pass from Lamar Jackson to Zay Flowers, a 10-yard pass with a blocked extra point, and then a another 29-yard Justin Tucker field goal. Lots of very close field goals in this game. So at halftime, the Ravens led 18-3. Then, to start the third quarter, Nick Folk banged in a 27-yard field goal, and the Titans scored in a touchdown off of a 15-yard Derrick Henry run. So now the game is 18-13 in favor of Baltimore. Then the fourth quarter begins. You have a 20-yard field goal from Justin Tucker. Very surefire field goals from the Ravens. Then another 36-yard field goal with 4 minutes remaining in the game to put the Ravens up 24-13. At this point, there's not a lot that the Titans can do, but they score a 38-yard field goal with 38 seconds left, and the game ends at a score of 24-16. And in this game, you have Lamar Jackson throwing for 223 yards, 1 touchdown, and 1 interception, which is alright. And then Ryan Tannehill was the leading passer for the Titans with 76 yards and 1 interception, but he did go down in this game, so I think he went down, unless he was benched. I think he went down. So Malik Willis came in. He only threw 5 passes. He went 4 of 5 for 74 yards, so not that bad. Then rushing the ball, you have Lamar Jackson with 13 carries for 62 yards, and you have Derrick Henry with 12 carries for 97 yards and 1 touchdown. And receiving, you have 4 catches for 69 yards from Mark Andrews, but you have 1 catch for 48 yards from Tajay Spears. This was at the very end of the game. I tuned in at the end and I saw that catch. Kind of unbelievable that that was the biggest pass. That was like the most yardage that the Titans got. But yeah, looking at the team stats in this game, you'll notice that the Ravens dominated in total yards, passing yards, and rushing yards. Well, rushing yards was almost even, but they did win in every major category. Sacks allowed, they only allowed 1, whereas the Titans allowed 6, so the offensive line not looking that great. And the Ravens had 1 turnover to the 2 of the Titans, so first and foremost, quarterback going down is going to be hard to win a game, but also hard to keep your quarterbacks healthy if you have so many sacks. I want to say like 2 or 3 sacks were suffered in the final drive of the game by Malik Willis, and maybe it's not necessarily the offensive line's fault. I think he should have thrown a couple of those away, but yeah, limiting turnovers and just playing more aware of where the pressure is coming from. That'll help you out. I'm not gonna fault the Titans too much for losing a game where Tannehill went down, but good job to the Ravens. A little bit surprising that they kicked so many field goals. You want to see a lot of those be touchdowns. So the red zone offense maybe have to work on a little bit. And then after that, we're gonna move on to the Panthers and Dolphins game. This actually had a very surprising start. In the first quarter, Miami went scoreless, whereas the Panthers scored 2 touchdowns. You had a Chuba Hubbard 6-yard run and an 8-yard pass from Bryce Young to Adam Thielen, so they lead 14-7. But very soon after that, Miami responds with 2 touchdowns of their own to tie up the game. A Raheem Mostert 3-yard touchdown pass and a Jalen Waddle 4-yard touchdown pass. And then to go up, you have a 41-yard touchdown pass from Tua to Tyreek Hill. So Miami goes into halftime leading 21-14. The third quarter, Miami scores another touchdown, a Raheem Mostert 4-yard run. So now they're winning 28-14. After that, yet another Raheem Mostert touchdown to go up 35-14. Panthers respond with their own touchdown, a Troy Hill 61-yard interception return. So that's a big 6 to make the game 21-35 with 4 minutes left. But, icing on the cake, the Dolphins go out, get another touchdown on a Safan Ahmed 9-yard run to cap this game at 42-21. In this game, you have Bryce Young throwing for 217 yards and 1 touchdown, which is relatively good for him. Then you have Tua throwing for 262 yards and 3 touchdowns. Another very nice game. Chuba Hubbard he rushed with 19 carries for 88 yards and 1 touchdown, and Raheem Mostert had a monster day, receiving side, you actually have quite a big game from both of the top receivers. 11 catches for 115 yards and 1 touchdown for Adam Thielen, and 6 catches for 163 yards and 1 touchdown for Tyreek Hill. And then looking at the team stats, Miami just had more in everything. Yards per play, rushing yards, passing yards, total yards. They dominated in this game. They didn't allow any sacks, and they turned over. They did have a costly turnover with a pick 6, obviously, but it didn't hurt them too much. They still won by doubling the Panthers' points. So the Panthers, they got it going in the first quarter, and then they fizzled. They didn't do anything for the rest of the game. Even they limited their turnovers, so that's good on them. But Bryce Young was sacked 4 times, and the offense just did not do anything after having a 14-point lead. Granted, this is the Miami Dolphins, so it's going to be hard. But the Panthers still out there looking for their first win. And then next, after that, you've got the Saints and the Texans in this game. The Texans started off with a touchdown, a 1-yard pass from C.J. Stroud to Dalton Schultz. Then Derek Carr hit Rashid Shaheed on a 34-yard touchdown pass to tie the game up. Then you have a field goal and a touchdown from the Texans. 6-yard pass from C.J. Stroud to Robert Woods to go up 17-7. Then a response from the Saints with a 48-yard field goal. So going into halftime, it was 17-10 in favor of the Texans. Then in the third quarter, both teams scored 1 field goal, and that was it. No scoring in the fourth quarter. So the game finishes at a score of 20-13 in favor of the Texans. And Derek Carr in this game slung the ball, threw it 50 times for 353 yards on 32 completions, 1 touchdown and 1 interception. And C.J. Stroud had his first ever interception. He threw for 199 yards, 2 touchdowns and 1 interception. Alvin Kamara, he had 19 carries for 68 yards, and Devin Singletary, not Dameon Pierce, kind of surprising, had 12 carries for 58 yards. And receiving, you have Chris Olave with 7 catches for 96 yards, and Nico Collins with 4 catches for 80 yards. Looking at the team stats, you'll actually notice that the Saints won in total yards and passing yards and yards per play. It was only rushing yards that they were edged out, but part of their demise comes to their turnovers. So the Texans just played cleaner football. They had 1 interception, but the Saints had 1 interception and 1 fumble lost. Same amount of sacks, relatively similar in the penalty. Oh no, never mind. The Saints had way more penalties. 7 penalties for 83 yards, whereas the Texans had 3 for 29. So penalties and an extra turnover is what led the Saints astray in this game. And so to be honest, I'm very surprised. The Saints, I remember looking at them before the season started, and based on their schedule, I was like, if Derek Carr can get it going, this could be like a 12-13 win team. Derek Carr did not get it going like that, so now they're here at 3-3, but if only, I'm sure all Saints fans wish that his tenure was a little more successful to this point, but it's early in the season still. After that, you've got the Washington Commanders beating the Atlanta Falcons 24-16. This game started off with a 37-yard field goal from Washington, then a 9-yard pass from Desmond Ridder to Kyle Pitts. So Atlanta leads 7-3. Then 2 touchdowns from Washington, a 1-yard pass from Sam Howell to Antonio Gibson, and then a 7-yard pass from Sam Howell to Curtis Samuel. And it is capped off with a 47-yard field goal from Young Hoku. So at halftime, this game was 17-10 in favor of Washington. In the third quarter, you get another Washington touchdown, a 24-yard touchdown pass from Sam Howell to Brian Robinson Jr. And in the fourth, you have a 2-yard Jonnu Smith touchdown from Desmond Ridder to end the game at 24-16. Very interesting stats in this game. I have not looked at these, but Sam Howell, 151 361 yards and 3 touchdowns, so not a lot of passing, but effective. Whereas Desmond Ridder had 370 yards and 2 touchdowns, but also 3 interceptions. Then Brian Robinson Jr., 10 carries for 31 yards, not a good day. And Tyler Algier had 13 carries for 51 yards. On the receiving side, you have Terry McLaurin, 6 catches for 81, and the first notable Drake London day in 9 catches for 125 yards. So looking at the team stats, you'll actually notice that Atlanta outperformed in every major statistical category. They had double the total yards. They had over double the passing yards. They had 30 more rushing yards and 5.1 yards per play to the Commanders' 3.9. So you might be asking yourself, what went wrong? And it was most definitely the interceptions. They threw 3 interceptions. Commanders did not turn the ball over at all. Even though the Commanders lost the sack battle, when you're being gifted 3 possessions just like that, you're going to benefit. And so they win by 1 score. So the Falcons, they could have done it. This is Desmond Ridder's first home loss ever in his career. So shocking. If he just used his charm, didn't throw the ball to the other team, maybe they could have won the game, but unfortunately, he wasn't able to do that. Moving on, you have the Jacksonville Jaguars and the Indianapolis Colts facing off. The Jaguars getting the best of the Colts, 37-20. In this game, you start off with a field goal from Matt Gay, 28 yards, to put the Colts up 3-0. Then in the second quarter, 3 straight touchdowns from the Jaguars to go up 21-3. 2-yard run from Travis Etienne, 22-yard run from Travis Etienne, and a 29-yard receiving touchdown from Christian Kirk. And then the Colts respond with a 56-yard field goal. So you go into halftime 21-6 in favor of the Jags. Then a 48-yard field goal from the Jaguars and a 10-yard pass from Lawrence to RenTen Strange to go up 31-6. Then in the fourth quarter, the Colts rolled a little more. They got 2 touchdowns, one from Josh Downs and one on a Zach Moss touchdown run to make it 21-31. But the Jaguars topped it off with 2 more field goals to go up 37-20, and that is where the game finished. So in this game, you have Gardner Minshew throwing for 329 yards, which is nice, a touchdown, which is also nice, but 3 interceptions. So he's on that Desmond Ridder ride, Then Zach Moss, 7 carries for 21 yards and a touchdown. They did not run the ball well in this game, as you can see. And then Michael Pittman Jr., 9 catches for 109 yards, which is good, very effective. Then Trevor Lawrence, not throwing for a ton, only 181 yards, but he threw for 2 touchdowns and 1 interception, so he made the most of his throws. Then Travis Etienne Jr., 18 carries for 55 yards and 2 touchdowns, and Christian Kirk with 3 catches for 49 yards and a touchdown. So going into the team stats, you will find that the Colts had more total yards. They had over double the passing yards, but rushing the ball, they struggled mightily. And they actually had more yards per play, so Gardner Minshew was doing his thing a little bit, even in the sack category, but it comes down to interceptions thrown. The Colts had 4 turnovers in this game to the 1 of the Jaguars, so 3 extra possessions for the Jaguars, and that really helped them win. Yeah, Gardner Minshew is a solid backup, but at the same time, the luck runs out. He just didn't do as well today. I like Gardner Minshew quite a bit. I hope that he is able to tone down on the interceptions and lead the Colts to a couple more victories. After that, you've got the Bengals beating the Seahawks 17-13. And in this game, first you had a Seahawk touchdown and then a Bengal touchdown. One was a Kenneth Walker 1-yard run, then a Tyler Boyd 8-yard pass. So second quarter, it's tied 7-7. The Bengals score another touchdown. Andre Iosvias, I have no idea what that is. And then a field goal from the Seahawks. So it is 14-10 in favor of the Bengals going into halftime. Then a field goal from Jason Myers of the Seahawks to make it 13-14 in the third quarter. But a field goal 1 interception. Then you have Kenneth Wallen. Please excuse me while I take a sip of a drink. Alright. Then you have Kenneth Walker rushing 19 times for 62 yards and 1 touchdown. And Joe Mixon rushing 12 times for 38 yards. Not a great day from him. Then Tyler Lockett, 6 catches for 94 yards, and Jamar Chase, 6 catches for 80 yards. Looking at the team stats, it's a bit baffling because the Seahawks won in every category. Total yards, passing yards, rushing yards, and yards per play. So what went wrong? I guess it was the one additional turnover, really, because they had more time of possession. They only allowed 1 more sack, but they threw 2 interceptions to the one of the Bengals, and this was a 4-point game, so I guess 1 possession really changes everything. They really could have done it. It seems like they were able to move the ball, but they just didn't. They didn't score. So hopefully Geno Smith is able to correct this, throw more touchdowns, less interceptions. And for the Bengals, you got off to a bad start, but now you're 3-3 with like most of the AFC, so they have a real fighting chance once again. They look better, and hopefully they'll be able to build on it. After that, you've got the Vikings defeating the Bears 19-13. First up, you had the Vikings scoring a field goal, then the Bears responding with their own field goal, then the Vikings scoring another field goal, and then the Bears scoring another field goal. So it was 6-6 going into the halftime, but at the very last second, the Vikings scored a touchdown, a 10-yard pass from Kirk Cousins to Jordan Addison, and the extra point was blocked, so they lead 12-6 at halftime. Then on the defensive side, Jordan Hicks of the Vikings defense recovered a fumble for 42 yards and scored a touchdown to put the Vikings up 19-6. And in the fourth quarter, you have Tyson Bagent running in a touchdown from the 1-yard line. So the reason Tyson Bagent is the backup quarterback for the Bears, he entered the game because I think of a wrist injury to Justin Fields in the third quarter. So passing yards, you have 181 passing yards from Kirk Cousins and 1 touchdown. And from Bagent, you have 83 yards passing and 1 interception. Then Alexander Madison, 18 carries for 44 yards. That is not good at all, my friend. And on the other side, you have Dante Foreman, 15 carries for 65 yards. And on the receiving side, 6 catches for 50 yards from TJ Hawkinson and 5 catches for 51 yards from DJ Moore. Looking at the team stats, you'll see that the Bears had more total yards. They had less passing yards, but way more rushing yards. Almost 4 times as many rushing yards. And yards per play were about even, but the Bears allowed 5 sacks to the 2 of the Vikings, and the Bears had 3 turnovers to the 1 of the Vikings. So offensive line struggles, injured quarterback, and turnovers. That is what caused the game for the Bears, hoping that Justin Fields is okay and that he's able to recover. And the Vikings get a nice divisional victory here. They are missing Justin Jefferson. This is their first game without him. They didn't do that great, but at least they got a victory. After that, you move on to the 49ers losing to the Cleveland Browns 17-19. I watched the fourth quarter of this game, and it was just like, wow, I don't know. And so you start off the game with San Francisco going up 10-0, a 13-yard pass from Brock Purdy to Christian McCaffrey, and then a 25-yard field goal from Jake Moody. Then the Browns respond with a 16-yard touchdown from Kareem Hunt. So halftime, the Niners lead 10-7. Then the Browns take the lead with 2 field goals in the third quarter, and San Francisco regains the lead with a 8-yard Jordan Mason run to go up 17-13 with 11 minutes left. But then the Browns score 2 field goals in the last 4 minutes to go up 19-17, and with the game on the line, the 49ers set up a 41-yard field goal and Moody misses it wide right. So the Niners lose their first game. The Niners offense did not look good at all, which is very surprising considering the Browns were playing with a backup quarterback in PJ Walker. So Brock Purdy finishes with 125 yards passing, 1 touchdown, and 1 interception. Whereas PJ Walker, not even that good of a game, 192 yards and 2 interceptions. Rushing the ball, you have Christian McCaffrey rushing 11 times for 43 yards, and Jerome Ford, 17 carries for 84 yards. And then receiving, you have Brandon Ayuk, 4 catches for 76, and 4 catches for 108 for Amari Cooper. So in this game, the Browns actually dominated in all statistical categories. More total yards, more passing yards by 70, more rushing yards by like 50, more yards per play by a whole yard. And then you have the Niners losing the sack battle, surprisingly, with their amazing O-line. And even though they won the turnover battle, the Browns were just better at rushing the ball, so they held the time of possession and they were able to sneak a victory in this game. Very shocking and surprising end. The Niners are no longer undefeated. They suffered their first loss, and the Browns, with a backup quarterback, take down the best team in the NFL. So the Browns are in pretty good shape right now. Moving on, you have the Patriots and the Raiders. Hard for me. Hard year to be a Patriots fan, man. So starting off in this game, by the way, the Patriots lost 17-21. So Daniel Carson kicked a field goal to start off the game in the first quarter. Then you had a touchdown from Jacoby Myers to put the Raiders up 10-0. After that, you have a field goal from the Patriots and then a field goal from the Raiders. So going into halftime, it was 13-3 in favor of the Raiders. After that, you have a 2-yard Ezekiel Elliott touchdown run from the Patriots to make it a 3-point game, and then a field goal from the Raiders to make it a 6-point game. Then in the fourth quarter, the Raiders had a field goal, so they were up 10-19, and the Patriots got the ball, but they moved the ball so slowly. It took them so long to get their touchdown. They scored a touchdown eventually, but they took off all the time on the clock. It was like a 10-minute drive. So with 3 minutes left, they kicked the ball off to the Raiders, and they actually stopped the Raiders to get the ball back, but just penalties and mistakes, and instead of being able to go down the field and score a field goal to win the game, they end up getting a safety, and so the Raiders scored 2 more points. What an awful game, man. So Mac Jones, 200 yards, 1 interception. What's new? And Jimmy Garoppolo, 162 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 interception. Then Ramondre Stevenson, 10 carries, 46 yards, 1 touchdown. Josh Jacobs, 25 carries for 77 yards. Not very efficient. Then you have Kendrick Bourne catching 10 passes for 89 yards, and Michael Mayer catching 5 passes for 75 yards. In this game, Raiders win in total yards by about 90 yards. They win the passing game by about 90 yards. They're about even in rushing yards, 83 of the Patriots to 84 of the Raiders. But even in the turnover game, and the Patriots allowed 4 sacks and the Raiders allowed 0. So, goodness gracious, what an awful year for the Patriots. I mean, it's well deserved after all those years of victory, but just, it is tough to watch these games, man. The offense is like so bad, so immensely bad. This was one of the few games where we could rush the ball, but we just don't have that passing anymore. Sucks when you lose the coat, you know, what can you say? Yeah, good job to the Raiders. After that, you've got the Lions and the Buccaneers. Lions winning 20-6. The Lions started off with a field goal. The Bucs matched with the field goal. Then the Lions scored a touchdown, 27-yard pass from Goff to Amon-Ra St. Brown. Then you've got Then you've got a field goal from Tampa Bay after halftime. So now it's 10-6. Then a 45-yard pass from Jared Goff to Jameson Williams. White. Then a big day from Amon-Ra with 12 catches for 124 yards and a touchdown. And then 6 catches for 77 yards for Chris Godwin. The Lions, 1 in total yards, 1 in passing yards. Rushing was awful in this game. The Lions had 40, but the Bucs had 46. And let's see, the Lions actually allowed more sacks, 3 sacks to the 1 of the Buccaneers, but the Buccaneers turned the ball over more. So when you can't throw the ball and you have a turnover, that'll cost you a game. So the Bucs, not too bad. They're still 3-2, but the Lions are 5-1, tied for best record in the NFL. So good year to be a Lions fan. After that, you have the Rams defeating the Cardinals 26-9. Field goal from the Cardinals, then field goal from the Rams, then field goal from the Cardinals, and another field goal from the Rams. So halftime, you have the Cardinals leading 9-6. Then you get to the third quarter. The rest of the game was Rams only, basically. Touchdown from Cooper Kupp, field goal from the Rams, touchdown from Kyren Williams, and field goal from the Rams to finally win it 26-9. In this game, Josh Dobbs had 235 yards passing and 1 interception. And then Matthew Stafford had 226 yards passing and a touchdown. Then Josh Dobbs, also the leading rusher, 7 carries for 47 yards, and Kyren Williams, 20 carries for 158 yards and 1 touchdown. So a very good day from him. Then Trey McBride receiving 4 catches for 62 yards, and for the Rams, 7 catches for 148 yards and 1 touchdown to the now healthy Cooper Kupp. And so in this game, the Rams had a bit more total yardage. Passing the ball, they're actually kind of even, but they had the advantage rushing the ball. And 1 turnover to the 2 of the Cardinals, and even in the sack battle. So I don't know what happened to the Cardinals in the second half, but clearly they didn't show up. They allowed 20 unanswered points. And so their defense, they got to get those stops. They got to do something on offense in the second half. Don't know what happened, but yeah, you're not going to want to lose games like that, because that is demoralizing when you have to lead and you just fizzle out. And speaking of fizzling out, you've got the Eagles losing to the Jets 14-20. Another undefeated team down. In this game, the Eagles were up quite big early. With 5 minutes left in the second quarter, they went up 14-3. They had a touchdown run from Jalen Hurts and from a touchdown catch from DeAndre Swift, whereas the Jets only had 1 field goal. Then the Jets, in 2.5 minutes, scored 2 field goals to make it 14-9 at halftime. They scored another field goal in the third quarter to make the game 14-12, and in the fourth quarter, with 2 minutes left, the Jets scored a touchdown run off of Breece Hall. So they convert the 2-point attempt, and they go up 20-14, and the Eagles just could not respond. In this game, you have Jalen Hurts throwing for 280 yards, 1 touchdown, and 3 interceptions. So that might be why their offense just stopped after the second quarter. Jalen Hurts was also the leading rusher, 8 carries for 47 yards and 1 touchdown. And then A.J. Brown, another big game, 7 catches for 131 yards. Then on the other side, you have Zach Wilson playing clean football, 186 yards passing. That's it. Breece Hall with 12 carries for 39 yards and 1 touchdown. He showed up when it mattered. And then Garrett Wilson, sneaky good game, 8 yards for 8 catches for 90 yards. Looking at the team stats, you'll see that the Eagles actually had more offense. I don't think that's that surprising considering all the turnovers, but yeah, more total yards, more passing yards, slightly less rushing yards, but 4 turnovers from the Eagles to the 0 of the Jets. And even though the Jets took 5 sacks, they got 4 free possessions from the Eagles, and that allowed them to win this game. So the Eagles, they were doing well, were undefeated, but that comes crashing down. This is the first time the Jets have ever beaten the Eagles in their franchise history, so very big day for the Jets. They sit at 3-3, and they can compete in this AFC. And then lastly, you have the Giants and the Bills squaring off on Sunday night. I'm saying lastly because today is Monday, and I don't know how this, the Charger game hasn't happened yet, so that won't be in this video. But Buffalo Bills beating the Giants 14-9. Rather low-scoring game. At halftime, the Giants were leading 6-0. Buffalo was scoreless in the first half. Then finally in the fourth quarter, Buffalo turns it on. They scored their first touchdown to take the lead 7-6. Then the Giants respond with a field goal to take the lead 9-7. And with 3:48 left, the Bills scored their second touchdown to go up 14-9, and that was the final. In this game, you have Tyrod Taylor playing clean football, throwing for 200 yards exact and nothing else. Then you have Josh Allen throwing for 169 yards, which is not much, but 2 touchdowns and 1 interception. Saquon Barkley was back in this game, and he rushed the ball 24 times, which is pretty promising, for 93 yards, which is like, okay, not that great. James Cook rushed 14 times for 71 yards. Then Darius Slayton, 4 catches for 69 yards, and Stephon Diggs, 10 catches for 100 yards, so pretty good day from him. Looking at the stats, they're almost dead even in every category. Total yards, passing yards, rushing yards. What's the difference here? The Giants allowed 3 sacks to the 0 of the Bills, but 3 sacks is honestly pretty good for the Giants. And then the Bills actually had 2 turnovers to the 0 of